Have you ever tried to imagine a world without sight or sound? A world of complete silence and darkness? It's almost impossible for most of us to truly comprehend, but for one extraordinary woman, this was her reality. This is the story of Helen Keller, a name synonymous with courage, determination, and the incredible power of the human spirit. Born in 1880 in Tuscumbia, Alabama, Helen was a healthy baby. But at just 19 months old, a mysterious illness, possibly meningitis or scarlet fever, struck her down. It left her both blind and deaf. In an instant, her world was plunged into a silent, dark void. Can you imagine the frustration? Unable to say, unable to hear, unable to express her thoughts and feelings. Her early years were filled with rage and confusion. She was a bright child trapped inside a body that couldn't connect with the world around her. She was often misunderstood, leading to wild outbursts that her family struggled to handle. They loved her dearly, but they were at a loss. It seemed like Helen was destined for a life of isolation. But hope arrived in the form of a 20-year-old teacher named Anne Sullivan. Anne herself was visually impaired and had a difficult childhood, which gave her a unique empathy for Helen's situation. When Anne arrived at the Keller home in 1887, she found a fiercely intelligent but untamed child. Their first weeks together were a battle of wills. Helen was resistant, and Anne was firm but patient. Anne knew that the key to unlocking Helen's mind was language. But how do you teach language to someone who can't see or hear? Anne started by spelling words into Helen's hand. She would give Helen an object, like a doll, and spell the OL into her palm. Helen could mimic the finger movements, but she didn't understand that they were words representing objects. She thought it was just a game. The frustration mounted on both sides. For weeks, they made little progress. It felt like they were hitting a wall. The Keller family began to doubt if this young teacher could really make a difference. Then came the breakthrough moment, a scene so powerful it has been immortalized in plays and films. It happened one day at the old water pump in the family's garden. Anne held one of Helen's hands under the cool, flowing water. With her other hand, she relentlessly spelled WATR into Helen's palm. Suddenly, something clicked. The feeling of the water and the letters spelled in her hand connected in Helen's mind. For the first time, she understood. This cool, wet substance had a name. Everything had a name. A new world opened up to her. It was a moment of pure revelation. Helen was so excited she began touching everything she could, demanding to know its name. By the end of the day, she had learned 30 words. The barrier was broken. The darkness and silence were still there. But now, she had a bridge to the outside world. This single moment at the water pump changed not just Helen's life, but the course of history for people with disabilities. It proved that with the right approach and unwavering dedication, no mind is unreachable. From that day forward, Helen's education progressed at a breathtaking pace. Her thirst for knowledge was unquenchable. With Anne Sullivan constantly by her side, spelling every lecture, every conversation, every book into her hand, Helen mastered Braille. She learned to read French, German, Greek, and Latin. She even learned to hear people speak by placing her fingers on their lips and throat to feel the vibrations. And eventually, she learned to speak herself, a long and arduous process that took years of practice. Her ambition knew no bounds. She was determined to go to college, something that was unheard of for a woman, let alone a deafly blind woman, at the time. In 1900, she was admitted to Radcliffe College, the prestigious sister school to Harvard University. Her college years were incredibly challenging. She had to rely on N to spell out lectures and on special typewriters to write her assignments. Many were skeptical, but Helen was determined to succeed. In 1904, she graduated with honors, a monumental achievement that stunned the world. But Helen's story doesn't end with her graduation. It was just the beginning. She refused to live a quiet, sheltered life. Instead, she used her newfound voice to become a powerful advocate for others. She became a world-renowned author, publishing her famous autobiography, The Story of My Life. While still in college, she traveled to over 35 countries, giving inspiring lectures and meeting with world leaders. She was a tireless champion for the rights of people with disabilities. But her activism didn't stop there. Helen was a true progressive, ahead of her time in many ways. She was a passionate suffragist, fighting for women's right to vote. She was a pacifist who spoke out against war. She co-founded the American Civil Liberties Union, the ACLU, to protect the rights and freedoms of all citizens. She campaigned for birth control and racial equality. She saw the interconnectedness of all social justice issues and used her global platform to fight for a better, more equitable world for everyone. She showed the world that a disability does not define a person's potential or limit their impact. Throughout her incredible journey, Anne Sullivan remained her teacher, her companion, and her dearest friend. Their bond was one of the most profound in history. Anne was Helen's eyes and ears, her guide through a world she could not see or hear. When Anne passed away in 1936, it was a devastating loss for Helen. But another companion, Polly Thompson, stepped in to continue supporting her. Helen continued her work for nearly 3 more decades. Helen Keller passed away in 1968, just shy of her 88th birthday. She left behind a legacy that continues to inspire millions. She transformed the world's perception of people with disabilities. Before Helen, they were often pitied and institutionalized. She proved that, with education and opportunity, they could achieve anything. Her life is a powerful testament to the idea that the biggest barriers we face are not the physical ones, but the ones we impose on ourselves and on others. Helen Keller once wrote, "The best and most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or even touched. They must be felt with the heart." She lived those words every single day. Her story teaches us about the power of communication, the importance of perseverance, and the incredible resilience of the human spirit. She chose not to be defined by her limitations, but by her potential.